Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining our Life After UPK webcast. My name is Vasu Desikachari. I am a Vice President at the Weekend Group. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items that I'd like to cover off. First, we have put everybody on mute. However, we do want this session to be very interactive. So please type your questions at any time in the chat box, and we'll answer them all before the end of this session. We will also make this recording available so that you may share it with others in your organization. And Ken, if I can request you to record.
I am recording.
Thank you. Okay, the purpose of this webcast, our goal is to make you aware of all the options available to you when you are ready to decide to migrate from UPK. So here's the agenda for today. I'd like to start off with introducing our panel of presenters. And following that, we will discuss about the impact of UPK's end of support announcement. And then we have a panel discussion. We have a panel assembled for you, and the panelists are UPK administrators with our customers. And then we have a session on a Q&A session on asking the experts. We have people on this team who have over 10 plus years experience in UPK, not just UPK, but in designing e-learning and performance support solutions. So this would be an opportunity to ask the experts, and we'll also share our experience with you. And then we'll finally introduce our UPK Health Check offer and answer any other questions at the end that may that you may have. By now, you have all heard of Oracle's announcement of end of premier support for UPK next April in 2019. We're also hearing rumors that they could extend this support beyond 2019. We also know that the last major UPK release with new features and functionality was in 2015. That was 3 long years ago. Since then, Oracle has significantly shrunk the UPK development and support team. And as a result, UPK releases in the last 3 years have been sporadic and primarily for bug fixes or to support browsers and operating system releases. So over the last 3 years, you have not seen any new features or new functionality released for UPK. Also, because of the deep cuts in UPK support team, our UPK clients have experienced significant delay in support response time. And you might also be noticing the same, that support response times are not meeting expectations. UPK was architected in the early 2000s, and being a non-cloud product is not a strategic product line for Oracle. Oracle is heavily focused on their cloud applications. UPK will not work on cloud applications. So even if they extend support for UPK beyond 2019, we are most likely going to get more of the same, no new features, no support for cloud applications, and very slow support response time. So given this situation, what's the impact on your organization? The first impact is that you're unable to expand usage of UPK to create content for any newer cloud applications that you may be deploying. Secondly, you may also wonder what happens to your existing content, which was developed over many years, and whether to invest additional resources in creating new training content on what is essentially a legacy application. And finally, UPK's diminished usage reduces its value to you, and you question paying annual maintenance. In fact, some of our clients and some UPK users have stopped paying their annual maintenance since they do not receive any value. At this point, I would like to introduce Mike Weber, the CEO of the Weekend Group, who will be moderating this panel discussion. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Vasu, and thank you everyone for joining us today on this webinar. Before I get started, first of all, I'd like to introduce the people that are going to be participating in this panel today. Online with us, we have Michel Deveau, Manager Business Applications. Michel is from the Royal College of Surgeons and Physicians of Canada. He's been a long-time client of the Weekend Group as well. We also have with us Sean McAdam, Céline Brisson, Émilie Thibodeau from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. Within those three participants, we have UPK experts, but we also have experts from different applications, such as UPerform. And the reason we invited RCMP was they're one of our clients that actually uses both UPK and another platform for the relearning requirements. So I'd like to welcome everybody, and I really appreciate you joining us today. And also, the point that we have some people on the panel with us, I think it's important that if you feel that you know there's value added and you want to comment on some of the upcoming questions, feel free to jump in at any time and share your experience with us. And I mean, it's only going to help us align and make sure that our clients and you are better served in the future based on the decision you would take moving forward with any other application or sticking to UPK as well. Okay. Next slide, please. So, I'm going to ask the questions to the panel. So, the first question would be, what impact does UPK end of support have on your organization? I'd like to start with Michel Deveau. Michel, are you there? Okay, is Sean, Céline, or Emily?
They may be on mute. Ken, if you don't mind unmuting them.
Hello, Michel?
Right. Michel?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So, Michel, based on the first question, what impact does UPK end of support have on your organization? As I know, the Royal College is a large Oracle client, so what do you foresee as the impact to your organization?
Well, the first impact is that of uncertainty. You know, we have a lot of UPK content. We have a lot of users trained on the tool. And for every new project that comes up, you know, we're essentially always asking ourselves, should we continue to develop with UPK, or should we be doing something in the interim? So the first impact is really about the uncertainty of our continued use of UPK. Not so much the existing content, but more about new projects.
Okay. So Ken just sent me a note. It seems like the people from RCMP were having issues connected. I'm not sure if they're connected yet. Sean? Sean, can you hear us? No? Okay, well, we'll keep on moving. Before I move on to the next question, I'd also like to ask the panel, is anybody else would like to ask this question? Do you feel that your organization has been impacted by the UPK as well, this piece of support?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, this is Kainwyn and Lorraine from the University of Alberta. We use UPK extensively for most of our training, and yeah, so end of support will have a huge impact on us.
Okay. So you use it mostly around your Oracle products, or are you an Oracle-based organization?
Yes, we do, but we also use it on some other products as well. But we have huge HCM, Campus Solutions, and Finance, lots of modules in all three of those, and we use UPK quite extensively in all three.
If you don't mind me asking, are any of
No,
these...
it's an antiquated.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
That's not me.
Okay. So
what was your question?
My question was based on all the different applications you're currently using. And Michelle, this is a question for you as well. How many of those applications are cloud-based applications?
None of them yet.
None of them yet? Michelle, I know you're in transition a lot as well, right?
Yeah, all the applications that we have UPK content for are applications that we have developed, or they're Oracle-based products. So we do use cloud applications, but we haven't used UPK for their training content.
Yeah,
ours
are not compatible.
Ours are PeopleSoft, and in each one of our modules we have a link right in the PeopleSoft homepage.
Okay.
Right.
So, based on the answers we're getting so far, so this will have an impact on your organization, people that shared with us so far. I know there's other people on the WebEx. So this is maybe to close this question.
Excuse me, there's lots of background noise and we can barely hear you. We could hear you good in the beginning, but now there's a lot of background noise. We can barely hear you.
Okay, can we see where the background noise is coming, maybe by muting? Is that better? Yeah, okay.
Yes, that's better.
All right. So, because this is probably the third or fourth webinar we do over the last month, and this has been a common concern for all of our participants, the impact of end of support. So, Ken, there's a lot of background again. Okay. The next question I want to bring up, Vasu, if you could bring it up, is how much of the UPK functionality are you using today? For an example, you can do your test scripts. There's a knowledge center that can deliver. I'm not talking about the UPK Pro, but I'm actually talking about test scripts. Are you using the documentation out of it, the knowledge center for reporting purposes, PowerPoints, whatnot? That would be a question that, we are looking at this, as we know that most of our current clients probably use 20 to 30% of the actual application, what's available to them. So just as a question, Michelle, could you elaborate on what you're currently using?
Sure. So we actually looked into the Knowledge Center. We even created some content for it. But in the end, for our ERP specifically, we ended up not rolling it out, not rolling out the use of the Knowledge Center. So we primarily essentially use just the content for online help, as well as some test scripts. So we use, in some cases, in some applications, we only use it for the see it mode, and in other applications where it's more internal focused, we do more of the try it, do it, and see it mode. So it's depending on if the audience is internal only, then we tend to use a few more of those features. If it's strictly external, for external customers, then we typically simplify things by just having the see it mode.
Okay. I don't know if Sean and Lynn and Kimberly are online yet. Okay, so we just found the source of this. It's from RCMP, they're having microphone issues. Can you mute them, please? So, from the participants from the University of Alberta, are you using most of the UPK features since you seem to be a large user of UPK today?
Just the, we're not using the test. We're not using the test scripts or the knowledge center. We're really just using the tool for training.
So you're using the simulations mostly?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we produce like quick
Job aids, quick reference guides, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And then what we do, we then provide the full documentation to our users so that if they want to add some of their own processes into the documentation, they can do that. So a lot of their training procedure manuals come out of UPK.
Okay, so they maybe publish it out based on their training requirements. And
yeah.
Do you, as a methodology, do you actually use the training manuals for, let's say, instructor-led training, but do you use the actual simulations to deliver training, or do you do it like in a training environment of a copy or mimicking your production environment?
Yeah, we don't have a training environment, but yes, we do use the simulation to train our users.
Okay.
Because they have access to that. They can go on it anytime they want, and they can use try it, do it mode, whatever they want to do.
Yeah, so you basically make it open to them. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, all our users have access to UPK.
Okay. Anybody else would like to add anything around the functionality they're currently using?
So I might have missed this, but why is UPK not going to be available anymore? Why is it not going to be supported?
Basically what's happening is Oracle has realigned all their applications to be cloud-based. So what happened is because they're going cloud-based and UPK is not cloud compatible, that meant that they would have to make a large investment on this solution, where the return and the cost of bringing it up to where they needed it to be compared to the cost of the return on investment didn't make sense to them. So what they actually came out with in support of the cloud solution is this application called GLS, Guided Learning System. But the guided learning system is within the Oracle Cloud and used within the Oracle products.
Yeah, but then doesn't that mean that we have to switch and spend a lot of time switching from UPK to that, time and money?
I can't answer that on behalf of Oracle. That's why when I asked initially...
So that's a yes, then?
I guess you guys have been a Oracle client for many years, right? And actually, I think Michelle is the one that explained this to me once. That, they sell you this beautiful package, but when you decide to take something out of it, the price actually goes up because they were giving this to you as a favor.
That for us, that's going to be a huge expense and time. I don't even know what we're going to do, quite frankly. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, a lot of people are feeling your pain right now.
I'm sure.
And again, if I can chime in there, and that is, you are very typical. This is the response we are getting from all of our customers saying, hey, what is out there? How much investment do I have to make? How much resources do I have to put in? What's the learning curve, and so on? And that's why we are here to help you. And over the next few slides, you will see what we're doing to kind of simplify your migration path and also to reduce the investment, hopefully. So.
Okay, thanks.
More to come in the next 15-20 minutes.
All right. So the next question, if we can move forward, and I think we just touched on it, right? Because there's a lot of gray areas coming our way that no one can really actually answer to 100%. So have you looked at options to replace UPK? I'm going to start with Michelle because I know we had a few discussions on this for sure.
So I want to have some full disclosure and transparency here to say that, yes, we have looked at it, but with the help of VCAN. So we really look at VCAN as our, UPK, center of excellence. So we're definitely going to be leveraging their expertise, not only in UPK, but in terms of how to migrate and convert any content. So we have received sort of their initial, options analysis, if you will, and of course their recommendation. We're also not just taking that at face value. We're also doing sort of our own options analysis with an environmental scan. For example, I was just at the Oracle Applications User Group conference in April, and also saw, a few other options, I'll say. So we are still at the, evaluating at a high level what the options are, and have by no means started any sort of pilot or any, on the acquisition path of any alternate solutions as of yet.
Thanks, Michel. And how about from the University of Alberta?
What's your question?
Have you, probably not, but have you looked at options to replace UPK? And when did you find out that UPK was being sunset, if I may ask?
Well, varying times, but I just found out a couple of weeks ago. Others have found out, I think, about 6 months ago, maybe.
Okay. So as a result of
but we haven't looked at anything else yet.
Okay.
Because you're still supporting till 2019, correct?
April 1st, correct, as of today.
2019, okay.
Yeah. So April 2019 it's estimated that support would cease at that time.
Yeah, but we could still use it even though you're not supporting it, correct, for a while?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can keep on using it for sure. The issue and the risk to that is Microsoft does a .NET application update or patch on the servers, not something to web browsers. The risk is always that you may lose the full functionality of your current content.
Yeah, so our 3 separate areas, eventually we're all going to move to the cloud, but it's going to take us years to get there for all 3 modules, like 5, 6, 10.
Yeah. Well, we're based in Ottawa. In Ottawa, we do a lot of public sector work, and we're probably 20 years away from cloud. So not us, but our clients. So we understand where it's coming from.
It's easy to say move to cloud. Those are 3 words, but it's way more words than that to get there.
Well, there's a lot of business processes that aren't necessarily compatible with the development of the software.
Yeah.
And those things you got to figure out how you're going to do them.
Yeah, see, our main issue, that's a good point, our main issue is we have lots of customizations, and they're based on the business processes, so we have to look at all business processes to see how we can get rid of the customization. So.
Yeah, I think that's an exercise being done by a lot of organizations. If I may, RCMP is actually online. They're having a microphone issue, so they just answered to this question as well through chat. So basically, they made the decision to on an alternative product. They are hoping to align with the rest of the Government of Canada, because we are in discussion as well with the Government of Canada right now for the 300,000 users. We have started some proof of concepts and initiatives with them on products that may or may not fit their requirements, but they are looking at replacing UPK at this time as well. So if we can move on to the next question, and thank you, Sean, Emily, and Céline. Keep on sending me the stuff through chat, and I'll just read it out. So the next question is, do you currently or have the intention of releasing an LMS within your organization? Do you have one deployed? Michel?
Sure, I can answer that. So the short answer is yes, we have an LMS solution deployed, but it's used by very, very few people for very, very specific use case. and that is we sell training to other organizations, primarily hospitals. In other words, it's not an LMS in the traditional sense of training our staff or even our customers, like at large. It's more of a tool that's used for us to create content on, and then we actually sell that training, usually in the form of a workshop or something, to hospitals. And I can probably go on record to say that LMS tool is called Desire to Learn, and it's a company out of Ontario that essentially hosts that. We do have that as a cloud service, and it's by no means integrated or connected with any of the UPK content that we have. It's you know, those two systems are not related to each other at all. So we do have an LMS, but we don't use UPK to create any content or store any content or to track anything there, primarily because it's a really small component of our business, and the customers that we sell that LMS to are again a niche customer base for us.
Merci, Michel. From the RCMP, they use SABA as their LMS system. They are looking actually into hooking their UPerform and UPK courses into the LMS so that they can actually track and attach the client scores to their HR records. They're starting a pilot or an initial project with their SAP Basic Navigation course. For I'm just reading this out, for our 100 or so UPerform courses, we currently use active server pages to deliver scores to the end user and capture the data. So they're looking at integrating their UPK and UPerform courses within their LMS system, which is SABA. And I figured that university, you guys probably use with the size of the organization, you probably use an LMS today?
Yeah, we do have a learning management solution, but it's not for our Oracle applications. It's more for student and classroom learning.
Okay, so do you integrate none of your UPK content gets integrated?
None of our UPK content is there.
Okay. Excellent. So,
because our LMS is for students.
Okay, perfect. So it's like your campus LMS for actual students. Like
yeah.
Universities. Okay, got that. Thank you. Next question, please. Within your organization, as you know now, most of you are UPK clients. Do you currently use other authoring tools? As there's many out there, like Captivate, Articulate, there's UPerform, InfoPack, to name a few, Opus. Michelle?
No, University of Alberta is a no.
It's a no. Michelle?
Yeah.
So yes, we do use other authoring tools, and as you mentioned, Articulate is one of those tools that we use. It's actually, again, related to that LMS solution that I mentioned earlier. So we use Articulate to create some content that we post on a Desire to Learn. So that's again very, very niche for us. There's one or two people inside the organization that create content using that tool, and it's not really a replacement, if you will, or a complementary product to UPK for us. It's such a niche product that they're not overlapping at all.
Thanks. I missed something from the LMS piece, from RCMP. Sorry about that, guys. We are looking at using the assessment know-it mode and trying to connect that into their SABA as well. RCMP also uses Adobe Captivate, and they also use InfoPack, which is UPerform, which is an OEM product by SAP, which they have integrated those Captivate courses inside to run inside their UPerform server. So, as we can see, there's and I'm glad that Michelle, you brought up Captivate, because when we're comparing UPK, Opus, UPerform, and all the different products, there's two categories of products that Sue we'll be speaking of in a bit. There's the actual enterprise product, and then there's just a smaller supporting product. So it's important that we understand the difference between those type of products and what we need to use them for. Since no specific organization has the same requirements, it may make sense to use a lesser product compared to a bigger product. So if we can go to the next and last question of the panel, please. So what's your future e-learning and training strategy? As of today, we're looking at our current state, and what's our future state looking like? We know UPK is going to be sunset, so we've talked about the impact. Some of you, since this is fresh to you, I figured that you may not have put some thought into, okay, what am I going to do now? So I'm going to start off with the RCMP note here, if you don't mind. So the future e-learning strategy is to continue to use UPK as long as possible. UPK is the #1 tool to accompany in-class training for PeopleSoft. Use UPerform for SAP e-learning and training and documentation needs. Thank you, everybody at RCMP. Michelle, have you, at the Royal College, started looking into this?
Yeah, so similar comments there. In other words, we believe that we can continue to use the existing content that we have with UPK. The primary concern that we have is all about the new content, right, or new projects or new solutions that we're deploying. So on that front, we've actually stopped creating or using UPK for that. In other words, since we know that we're going to need to convert down the road, we're taking a minimalist approach where we don't use a tool like UPK or a tool at all, other than some basic screenshots and some very basic training documentation methods. So as far as our training strategy is concerned, we basically put a hold on any new content for UPK, and are going to be looking at alternative tools this year, so that by next year we have a new platform to start migrating to.
Thank you, Michelle. And what about the members from the University of Alberta?
Well, we're going to be a combination. We're going to be hybrid of both of RCMP and I forgot, what was the college name? Sorry.
The Royal College
Royal?
of Surgeons and Physicians of
Royal?
Canada.
Yeah, so we're in between. We're still going to continue using it, but we're going to investigate different tools too.
Perfect. So that's great. I mean, that was good information. And I just got a note here from RCMP that came back. They are still using UPK for the old content as well as the new content. So this like for me personally, I'd like to thank you all, because this is great information, and I'm sure other people of this webinar today have probably appreciated getting the feedback from external, not from a vendor, but from actual users, people that use it on a regular basis, and so on and so forth. That being said, and I think it's important to emphasize that just keep in mind that your UPK investment, you will not lose. With the right direction, the right solutions moving forward, you can actually recoup a lot of your existing content and integrate in other solutions. So I know the first few webinars we've done that people were quite worried about that, and put your mind at ease, that can be salvaged. So based on that, I really appreciate everybody's time for the panel. I'm just going to pass it back now to Vasu to keep on moving.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you to the rest of the panel and to the University of Alberta team for this lively discussion. So now we have my colleague Ken Ward on the line. As I mentioned before, Ken has done over 40 UPK implementations, over 11 years in the education field, designing, implementing e-learning performance support solutions, not just UPK, but several other solutions. So we have the opportunity here to ask him any questions that you may have as a follow-up to the panel discussion. So to get us started, what we'd like to do is share the experience of a couple of our UPK clients who took the plunge late last year to move away from UPK, to migrate away to another platform. We have 3 or 4 other customers that are looking to do the same, and we have, based on their collective experience, 2 of them who actually went live with another platform after migrating away from UPK, and the others who are considering. Here's kind of the lessons learned, the 5 lessons that we feel that you ought to know, that we'd like to share with you when you're ready to migrate, or before you decide to migrate, and as you are selecting or considering different solutions. The very first one is that before you select an alternate solution to migrate away, we strongly urge you to categorize your system requirements, your new requirements, into 2 buckets. One bucket being the must-haves. These are the requirements that you must have in a new platform. And the second one is not so critical but nice to have. And at the weekend group, we can assist you with that. As you will see in the next slide, there are several good solutions available in the market. So before you decide on any one of them, you want to ensure that your requirements are well defined, so that the new system that you selected matches all of your must-have requirements and meets most of your nice-to-have requirements. So that's key. You don't want to buy too much, and at the same time, you don't want to buy too little. So mapping your requirements and understanding what you need for the future is really the first starting point. The second lesson learned was, determine how much legacy content you wish to retain and bring forward. A lot of us have been using UPK with PeopleSoft and Oracle for well over 10 years. Many of our clients have been using UPK for 11, 12 plus years. So over the years, they've built a lot of content. Some of that content is no longer relevant or applicable as they have migrated to new versions. So you want to make sure that you are not bringing in content that you have not used or touched in the last year or 2 or 3 into the new system. So that's the kind of the second lesson to keep in mind. And as part of that, and related to that, is the point number 3. Once you decide how much content you want to bring into the new system, you have the option to either migrate that content simply, which is the faster, cheaper option, or to convert into the new file format of another enterprise system if you choose to go the enterprise route. Now, converting content can be time-consuming because there is quality assurance to be done after you convert the content, and it's also more time and effort involved. So most of our customers are deciding to convert a small percentage of their content. Only the content that they wish to change and update in the future, they want to convert that, but leave the bulk of it, simply migrate that onto the new platform. Many of these, or most of these new platforms, allow you to bring UPK content or any other content, like any of the PowerPoints, your Captivate content, and so on, onto the new system that users can access from the new system, that you as an administrator can even report on the new system. So you don't really have to convert all of your content when you migrate to the new system. And dovetailing into that is point number 4, which is almost all of the new applications, the new learning platforms, are cloud-based. And what we have found is that whenever there is a cloud application that needs to be deployed, our clients have had to involve IT to do a cloud risk assessment in terms of security and whatnot. And that risk assessment um, needs to happen. For some organizations, it's mandatory before IT can sign off on the cloud deployment. And that may take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. So if you are in a time crunch and you have a project that you need to get working on, bear that in mind and involve your IT early on, so that they're working in parallel with you as you are reviewing the requirements and selecting the solution. You also have the IT doing due diligence on the cloud environment of the vendor that you are likely to go with. Just to save you more time and not to add more time at the end. And finally, invest in training. This is really the key to success. If you want to have a good onboarding experience and really have a very short learning curve, we strongly urge you to get trained on the new platform so that you minimize your learning curve and are up and running in the shortest possible time. So with that, I'd like to call on my colleague, our technical expert, to kind of chime in and share his experience. And after that, we'll open it up to the rest of our participants to kind of ask any questions that you may have. Over to you, Ken.
Thank you, Vasu. As Vasu mentioned, my name's Ken Ward. I've been working with the VCAN group for just over 11 years now, and I've helped a couple of our clients move from UPK over to, in our case, UPerform. So I've gained experience working with these clients. Vasu mentioned a lot of the key points, which I could talk about, one of them being, should you convert content or migrate content? And during this time, we found in most cases it was better to actually migrate the content over, because you retain all the all your playback modes, you retain how the information is displayed within UPK versus doing a conversion where you have to worry about the fonts and all those little like standards that the different organizations use tend not to come over as nicely as it does with a migration. With a migration, once the that process has to be updated, you just update the process and then use in this case UPerform to republish it, and then once that's done, the content is now in the new product. So you retain all your UPK information, as well as the ability to update that information into the new tool later on. So I'll just take a moment here to answer any questions you may have moving to a different solution.
Hi, Ken. It's Michelle.
Hello, Michelle.
I'm glad to hear that you've been able to migrate some customers already from UPK to UPerform. Can you tell us how much, I'll say, automation you were able to get from these migrations versus, let's say, some manual intervention? So in a typical migration project, what can we expect that can be, I'll say, automated in a migration versus where someone has to actually go into the new tool, in this case UPerform, and kind of fix whatever the issues were?
So with regards to migrating, the way we kind of did that was your UPK, wherever you have UPK running from, would still be running. So what you could do is just republish from UPK onto the UPerform web server, depending on how you have that set up, and then you can create the links within the courses of UPerform. So the main part that is a manual process is you have to republish the UPK content, and then just create the courses in UPerform to link to the different processes. So you do save a lot of time because you don't have to recreate all the processes in UPerform, but you still have to create the outlines in UPerform. So long as you follow what your outlines are in UPK and then just basically mimic that in UPerform, the impact is minimal on the manual process. You still have to create the outlines, but the actual processes themselves are saved, and creating the processes tend to be what takes the bulk of the time when creating UPK courses.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So as Mike mentioned, I know the folks from the University of Alberta had concerns about your content and then the whole process involved. The two customers that we migrated over, one was a healthcare company. The migration took place very smoothly, and it took between 2 to about 3.5 weeks to complete from start to finish. The other one was a hydro utility company, a very large organization. Both were very large organizations, very extensive UPK users. And that took a little bit longer. And the reason it took a little bit longer was because they wanted to convert a lot of their content from UPK to this new file format because they wanted to reuse that. And one of the lessons we learned was that the amount of time and effort that it took to do the quality and assurance and the conversion and so on, it is maybe unless the content is really critical, that you're probably better off just to migrate it over because it's far faster and easier. And you can, as Ken mentioned, you can access it in the new system. So that's something to bear in mind. So. And we have, we know of some solutions that can convert UPK content fairly quickly. So it's and that mitigates or minimizes your time. There are some. This particular software company has created some utilities and tools to automate that process. So again, that tremendously speeds up the conversion if that conversion is important to you. So the short answer is it really depends on each individual circumstance. Any questions? Have you gotten any questions on the chat board, Ken?
I have not received any questions through chat.
Okay. So perhaps they will chime in as we proceed. So what's available in the market in terms of performance support and e-learning solutions are and there's a wide selection, which is good news for all of us. So what we have done at WeCan is that we have categorized them into two buckets. First is the enterprise solutions and the other is point solutions. So enterprise solutions support training, documentation, and performance support needs of the entire organization. So really, with an enterprise solution, you can cover all aspects of training, from new employee onboarding to change management to retraining to in-application performance support, or if you're running cloud application, to you can do in-application guidance as well. Typically, they also cover all business applications deployed, and in our case, typically our customers, our UPK customers, on average, created content to support 3 or 4 applications. PeopleSoft HCM, the financials, they may have a CRM solution and so on. So that's an enterprise solution, and then there are several out there. There's the UPerform, there's Epilogue Opus, there's WalkMe, there's Enable Now from SAP, and there's TTS. They all do the job, and they all have kind of varying degrees of advantages. So it really depends on your requirements, and that's the key. We want to first understand, you want to first understand, what you really need going forward, and then select a solution that meets your requirements, because there is a fair choice, right choice there. And then there are point solutions, as Michelle mentioned from the Royal College. They are, I mean, the reason we are calling them point solutions is because they do a specific thing. The Articulate Storyline, for example, is used primarily to create training courses that you can then use or push out to an LMS solution. Captivate is used really primarily for screen capture, and so on. So they are good for, because they have a narrower focus, they're good to do one thing or the other, but they're not geared for in-application guidance or for performance support, or really to give you that enterprise-wide capability. But if you have an LMS solution and if your requirements are somewhat basic, you may be able to get by with just a point solution going forward. And at Wecan, we really have extensive experience in all of these products, and we can help you to make the determination based on your unique requirements. Really, which brings us to our approach when we work with our clients. And our approach essentially is to design and deliver e-learning solutions that meet your evolving needs. As Michelle mentioned, we look at this as a center of excellence for our clients. We are, over the past 12 years, we have supported over 150 UPK clients alone, and we have over 300 clients in the training, performance support, e-learning area. And over that time, we have developed a methodology, not just in deploying UPK, but also in designing and integrating e-learning and other training solutions to support your users throughout the life cycle of your business applications. We are, as I mentioned, software solution agnostic. We don't recommend any one vendor or favor any one over the other. Really work with our clients to come up with a solution that best meets your requirements. Really, we look at ourselves as kind of the center of excellence for all of your learning, training, and support needs, both your current UPK and your future LMS and support needs, and migrating to a new solution. So that brings us to the free health check that I would like to announce to everyone that has attended this webcast. And really, the health check is the starting point to kind of see where you are at, to map out your current state. It's an independent assessment of your current learning landscape and the state of your UPK implementation matched to your future requirements and goals. We will then, at the end of this assessment, come up with a report that identifies the gaps and that comes up with an action plan to support your future needs. The health check will be conducted by a UPK certified expert, and it will be conducted remotely via WebEx and conference call sessions lasting up to 4 hours, or multiple sessions lasting for a total of up to 4 hours. And essentially, we'll work with your learning and development team, your UPK owner, and there are 3 parts to this health check. The first one is the technical review. We'll get a snapshot of your current UPK environment, your projects, your templates, your reporting needs. We'll look at your content, if there's any translation, localization requirement. Look at all your target applications. Look at context IDs for in-application guidance. Review the gaps in talking to your people and any unmet requirements, and then work with your team to come up with a report that identifies your gaps, identifies your risks with your current situation, and then also come up with our recommendations for what you can do immediately to to help you to better use UPK, but more importantly, come up with a roadmap and a plan to get you to the desired state on a new platform based on a timeline that works for you. So we would really urge you to take this health check engagement to get a snapshot of your current environment and to really begin, as you begin to think about migrating over the next year or two or whenever you're ready. This is a very good way to assess your current situation and have the report to then engage your senior leadership team and say, this is where we are, this is what's out there in the market, these are the risks, and here are the benefits and the associated investment required to move to a new solution. So we can help you with that entire process as you make this recommendation to your management. So you can, to schedule a health check, you can simply contact me or Ken. When we send you a copy of this deck and the link to the recording, you can simply respond to me. You'll have all my contact information then, if you don't already, and then to schedule this health check. Any questions? Well, if there are no further questions, I want to thank you all for attending. We are incredibly done in 59 minutes, so I give you 1 minute back of your day. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye for now.